It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the middle of October 99, October 15th, and we've got 4 movies to look at, some notable films, including our first movie here, and that is, of course, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton in David O. Russell, David Fincher's Fight Club. Insert your obvious, don't talk about Fight Club memes right here. This is a movie that I'll start off by talking about the premise first. You have Edward Norton playing this unnamed narrator who is discontented with his white-collar job, so he forms a fight club with the soap salesman Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt. He becomes embroiled in a relationship with an impoverished but beguilingly attractive woman played by Helena Bonham Carter. And of course, if you've seen the film, you know what the twists are and all that type of stuff. This was a very interesting film for a number of reasons. The studio's 20th Century Fox put this movie out. The executives did not like the film, and they restructured Fincher's intended marketing campaign to try to reduce anticipated losses on the film. They actually premiered this film at the Venice International Film Festival a month prior, and then the film came out. It was the #1 movie in the box office when it came out, but it didn't meet the expectations I guess the studio had in mind. I guess they were still trying to hope for another Seven type of success, and actually received polarizing reactions from critics when it came out, and it was considered one of the most controversial and talked about films of the 90s. But like most movies like this, the film later found an audience through home video. It became a cult classic and caused media to revisit the film, and it's considered by many as one of the definitive cult movies of its time. And you can't really argue that when you see the film. This is a really good film, based off of a novel by Chuck Palahniuk, who also made a very good underrated film called Choke with Sam Rockwell, and it came out a couple years after this. Really good film if you haven't seen it. Definitely check that one out. But yeah, not much more I can really say about Fight Club that hasn't already been said already. I think it is a film that has so many great quotable lines to it, some great memorable moments to it. It's a film that just really, really holds up over time. And even still kind of holds up even by today's standards. Some might even say that's a little bit ahead of its time. And you can definitely tell that Fincher took a lot of inspiration from some classic films like James Dean and A Rebel Without a Cause and, of course, The Graduate. And you can definitely see a lot of those pieces in here. It's a really damn good movie. It's a film that I think holds up well over time. It has gotten better over time. Just so many great memorable moments to it, so many great quotable lines, so many great visuals. I have nothing really more to say to this film that hasn't already been said already. It's a classic film. It's a really good film that you really should see if you have not seen it already, especially if you like David Fincher's work. This is definitely one of his stronger films overall. Fantastic film. Can't recommend this one enough anymore. So, that's Fight Club. So let's go ahead and move on to our next film, and that is Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer in The Story of Us. So the story here is that you have Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer playing this married couple that have been married for 15 years, and they're gifted with 2 children. They stay together, but their hearts have separated long back. After the kids are sent to summer camp, both start living separately, and eventually prepare to break news of their separation to the kids. But being alone in each one's own world makes them think about each other. And when the D-Day comes, Katie and Ben, the two who Willis and Pfeiffer play, stick together for the good of the children. And the whole movie is nothing but watching 2 people bicker for over an hour and a half. I mean, this is a film that it's hard to believe this came from Rob Reiner. I mean, this is a North bad, but there are lines of dialogue in this movie that are really stupid, even for a film by Rob Reiner. And let me just show you an example of that right here.
Please. Honey, you don't have to say Italian. We're here, they know.
So what are you saying? That if I'm in Belgium and I order a Belgian waffle, I just say waffle?
Oh, dear mother of God, somebody actually greenlit that. Like, that's almost as bad as M. Night Shyamalan in The Happening saying, you know, hot dogs get a bad rap. Like, whoever says hot dogs get a bad rap? It's close to being as bad as you think it would be. And you would think that this was written by some kind of hack writer, but no, this was written by one of the original guys who wrote Saturday Night Live. Alan Zwabel, who, of course, like I said, was one of the original writers of Saturday Night Live. I mean, he was there with the original Not Ready for Primetime Players, but he also wrote North, and look at how well that film turned out. And Jesse Nelson, who later went on to direct I Am Sam, which was the film that Sean Penn was in a couple years after this. And so this wasn't written by hacks overall. These were written by decent writers. I mean, good writers here, and a good director here, but to watch a movie where Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer do nothing but bicker and just go back and forth on one another, it's not fun. There's nothing fun about this movie. I mean, this is a film that really is just, you're just waiting for the big moment where they have to decide whether or not they should stay together or just break up like they're going to, and it's uncomfortable to watch at times. Like, it really does not feel like a film. It really does not feel like a film that's worthy of entertainment value. Like they tried to sell this as a movie that could be seen as entertaining, but no, it's a really dull movie and a bleak film overall, that when it tries to go for the emotional moments, it's that typical cliche sappiness. Like, you can almost say this is an Oscar bait movie. Like, Rob Reiner was trying to make this to get some Oscar nods for this, which did not happen. In fact, this thing bombed pretty badly. I mean, barely made back its $50 million budget. With a cast like this and a director like this, you expect so much more, but no, this is just a boring movie. It's a boring film, a dull film. There's nothing fun about watching two people who have been married for 15 years bicker and argue with one another for an hour and a half. There just really is not. So, unless it's an action movie, unless it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith or an action. But I digress. But so that's the story of us. So let's go ahead and move on to our next film, and that is Casper Van Dien is leading the charge in our next film. And wait until you see the rest of the cast in this. This is the Omega Code. Casper Van Dien, Michael York, Michael Ironside. Probably not the best leading cast you want to have at a film in 1999. I mean, yeah, Casper Van Dien was in Starship Troopers a couple of years ago, and Michael York is a veteran actor, and so is Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside, whenever he's in something, usually people will tune in, but not for the leading roles in a film like this. The story is that the pre-millennialist plot revolves around a plan by the Antichrist, played by Michael York, to take over the world by using information hidden in the titular Bible code. This is an independently produced film by the Trinity Broadcast Network, whose head wrote a novelization of the film's script. It went on to make a decent amount of money for a film that didn't really have much of a market to it, but made $12 million off a $7.5 million budget, and they actually made a sequel to it. So I guess there's that. As far as the film goes, I've never seen it. I've never had any intentions on seeing it, and judging by that trailer I just saw, yeah, I probably have no intentions of ever watching it. So, not much more to say about that one. It's actually been a while since I can say that I've seen a film here on this list that I have not seen, and I have nothing really more to say about it, but there you go. That's the Omega Code. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film, David Lynch's The Straight Story, starring Richard Farnsworth. Definitely one of David Lynch's more interesting films. You have a story here about Richard Farnsworth as this elderly World War II veteran who lives with his kind, intellectually disabled daughter, and he hears that his estranged brother has suffered a stroke, and the guy named Alvin makes up his mind to visit him and hopefully make amends before he dies. Because his legs and eyes are too impaired for him to receive a driver's license, he hitches a trailer to his recently purchased 30-year-old John Deere tractor, having a maximum speed of 5 miles per hour, and sets off on this 240-mile journey from Lawrence, Iowa to Mount Zion, Wisconsin. The thing I remember most about this movie as of recently was if you ever hear the nostalgia critic Doug Walker talking about this film, he talks about it as the slowest movie ever, and there's nothing about this movie that should work whatsoever, but it has one of those elements to it where it's more about, you ever heard the saying, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination? I mean, some people like to flip that around. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But in this case, it really is it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. Because when he gets to this destination, where he has to go see his estranged brother, the film overall, all the things you could say to the film's negativity, which really isn't a lot per se, it kind of goes away because you get some really good acting from Richard Farnsworth. I mean, this guy was I think he was in his 80s when this came out. Yeah, he was just turning 80 when this came out, and he died a year after this film came out. And he's given it his all in this performance that he has here. I mean, it's a really well-made film that really knows. Yeah, it's going to take a while for you to get to this moment, but when you get there, it's worth it when it's all said and done, and they do a phenomenal job with this. And like I said, it's a very different film from David Lynch, because David Lynch goes crazy all the time in his early works, especially in his where it goes for insane over-the-top elements, but a storyline that keeps you invested, and the mystery aspect that keeps you invested. But here, it's pretty much straightforward. It's a guy on a lawnmower going 240 miles across the country to go see his estranged brother, and the result leads to a very strong, very well-made film at the end. I mean, some great performances all around by Farnsworth, Sissy Spacek, Harry Dean Stanton. Just a really good cast overall here, and a really good piece of... It's a really good entertainment. Like I said, there's not a whole lot in the actual movie that's... before we eventually get to the destination, that's bad per se, but it does get a little bit kind of boring at times. Like, every once in a while something might happen, but it's never enough to really keep you invested overall. But it makes it worth it when it's all said and done, and you get to this moment at the end, and it's more than worth your time when it's all said and done. It's a thing that just makes you realize that this is what it was all about at the end when it was all said and done. I think they really did a phenomenal job of handling that. It's a very good underrated film. I will say that if you don't like slow burn pictures or movies that move at a very slow pace, you might want to skip it. But if you're really up to the challenge for it, it is worth it when it gets to the end. It's not even a long movie per se. It's a movie it's a little bit over an hour and a half long, but when you get to the moment when it really matters the most, it does pay off in the end. And I think the film does earn that warrants a recommendation from me on it. I think it is definitely worth a watch. If you haven't seen it and you can handle a slow burn picture, I'd say definitely check The Straight Story out, because it's a really good film, and probably one of David Lynch's most underrated movies in my opinion. So yeah, check it out. It's A Straight Story. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll have 8 movies to look at. A lot of movies coming our way next time. Notable films, including The Best Man. We have Martin Scorsese's latest film with Nicolas Cage, Bringing Out the Dead. The horror film Bats. We also have 3 to Tango with Matthew Perry, who recently passed away at the time of recording this. Melanie Griffith and Crazy in Alabama. Body Shots, Elizabeth Shue and Molly, and Beyond the Mat, the WWF documentary. Remember, this was before the WWF became the WWE. So 8 movies overall to look at. So we have a lot of films we'll get to next time. So we will take a look at those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.